Welcome to the 10-Minute Business Insight on mynewsroom.ca. Joining me again today is Dan Barnett. And if you saw the other interviews that we've done, you'll know that Dan comes from corporate America. And he and I encountered each other through the world of tech and Vistage, tech in Canada, Vistage in the US. But Dan has had the opportunity to sit in the CEO's chair of many, many companies, a lot in the food service area or the food companies, that parts of Pillsbury, parts of Nestle's, also Constellation Brands. And Dan, you've got to see, first you were, and you have experienced leadership styles of all sorts and kinds. You've had a chance to study them. There are different ways that a person can be a successful leader, I guess, in running a major organization. Is that your observation?
It certainly is.
So do you have a favorite style?
Well, I think, interestingly, I think there are many, many different styles that can make people successful as leaders. You know, we don't all have to have the same style. We need to find the style that works for us. I think self-awareness is really important with leaders. If you can understand the style that's right for you, if you can understand your company, its strengths and weaknesses, all this takes self-awareness. You can develop a style that's right for you. I've seen leaders that are very autocratic and are highly successful. I've seen leaders that are very engaging and involving, highly successful, really different kinds of leaders. So part of it is just figuring out what works for you and then build a team that fits that.
There you go. That's the build the team issue. I guess de rigueur these days, what people are talking about as the most sort of espoused leadership style right now is the servant leader, but it's certainly not the only one that's around. But you have a thought on that?
I think servant leadership's awesome, because you care about your people and you care about your communities, and the people want to know that you care about them. They want to know that you care about your community. It's not all about you. I think this thing that this leader comes in and says, we're going to do this incredible, triple our size, quadruple our profits. People look at them and they say, I know why you'll be happy. You'll be rich. But what's in it for me? Do you care about what's going on here? And people want to know that you care. And there's lots of different ways to show that you actually care about people. And when you recognize people, when you listen to people, these are ways that they know that you actually care about them, and that makes a big difference. So I think servant leadership is a very successful leadership style. I've seen a lot of people use it. It's more along the lines of the kind of leadership that I've used. But again, I see people that don't use that are successful. But I do think servant leadership, you hear a lot, and it can be very effective with an organization.
One of the risks that I see in that is, the example of I'll grab a mop and I'll mop the deck with the crew, right?
Yeah.
And sort of say, gee, I wouldn't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do. While that works to a degree, there's also this risk that you have to be careful of as a leader, that if the boat hits the rocks, everybody looks at you and says, what are you doing with a mop? You are still the captain of the ship. You have to keep those two things in mind all the time.
Well, I think your role as a leader is so critical to the success. So yeah, you might be sort of a servant leader, but you're a leader. So I think start with clear direction. I think the more clear that you are about where you're going, the more chance you're actually going to get there. You know why? Because then people can see what you want to accomplish, and they make sure they can see what's in it for them. But that clear direction comes from the top. Now you work with your people, get input from them, and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, the leader's going to say, okay, we've been working on this is where we're going. And make that clear so that people can understand what it is, because then they can go to work on it. People love to be successful. And if you can show them where you want to go and let them know why that's important, now they can go to work on that, and they'll get all the energy of feeling this success and everything. That's why I really encourage leaders to have a vision that's clear and specific and measurable. Because if you can show progress towards your vision, you're trying to get here and you're here today, and then you're here, and here, it just builds a lot of energy in your company because people can see they're doing something that matters. It builds a lot of confidence. I like what Warren Buffett said about confidence. He says when there's confidence in a company, it's a little bit like oxygen. It's really important, but people don't think about it that much. But if you take it away for 2 minutes, it's all they think about. Because when you think about it, when confidence leaves an organization, what tends to replace it? Fear.
Yeah.
Which is paralyzing to most organizations if it's there for very long. One way to build confidence, show progress towards your vision. If you can have a vision that's clear, specific, and measurable, you can now measure the progress towards it. Builds confidence, builds energy. This is all about the direction that's applied by leaders. And this thing about fear, I'm glad you actually brought that thing up because, we all feel fear as leaders, especially today. You think about what's going on right now today with COVID-19, we all feel fear personally and for our businesses, all right? But be careful. If you respond to the fear, you're almost always going to make a bad decision. You're either going to be frozen by that fear or you're going to overreact to that fear, one or the other. I say step back for a second, figure out what's really going on, talk to some people, figure out what's happening, then bring it to your organization, make your decision after you figure that out. Now you want to do that quickly. You want to stay agile and nimble. But before you make that decision, be careful that you don't overreact or that you don't underreact. It's very easy to do as problems come at us, as competitors do something new, as the economy changes the way that it has. You're liable to overreact or underreact. I say you don't have to do that. Step back for a second, figure out what's going on, talk to some people, then make your decision. Do it quickly, but make your decision. And that's a good characteristic of leaders is don't let fear drive you.
You're onto something there. And I'm just curious about, as you said, talk to some people
Yes.
so you can make an appropriate decision. Just wondering, in your experience, they talk about the loneliness at the top.
Yeah.
I mean, go talk to some people and
Yeah.
that isolation issue. I mean, how did you fight that? What do you recommend to people when they say, boy, I just don't know if I'm making the right call here?
Well, the problem with this loneliness deal is that all the people that work for you, they basically have their own agenda of what they're trying to accomplish. If you have a board, you don't want to tell your board about what you're afraid of, and they want to have somebody that's in charge, that's doing the right things. It's hard to bring issues like that to them. So I think, independent things, it's things like tech and Vistage, which I've been involved with. It brings so much to leaders because now they have a group of people that all those people want to do is help you be successful and bring their experience to you. And you're doing the same for them. So it's a group of people that understand business, that can help each other, that have no hidden agendas. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're not trying to do anything. And I think that getting involved with association organizations like that can be really, really helpful to people.
Dan, I'm wondering just one last question. There's this sort of cult almost of CEOs, and some magazines have to, publish, and they have to turn them into superstars, this kind of stuff. Should we beware of the flashy CEO and look more for the quiet one, the thoughtful one?
Well, there are some CEOs that are charismatic and really special. And honest to goodness, that's not a bad thing for people that have that, all right? But very few of us have that. Don't go for that if that isn't you, because it just won't work. A lot of us talk about the importance of passion and inspiration in leadership. And a lot of leaders, if you really talk to them, they will say that they're passionate or inspirational even, all right? And my experience with passion and inspiration in leaders, most people think about this Tony Robbins kind of charismatic stuff that he does. My experience with leaders, it's never like that. I've worked with thousands and thousands of CEOs. You almost never see that charismatic stuff. It's never like that. But you talk to a good leader for 2 minutes about where they're going, what they're trying to accomplish. How are they going to make the world a better place? The passion is always there. My experience is it's almost always understated. You never see this charismatic stuff. You know, when you think of inspiration, who do you think you can most inspire? Paul, who do you think you can most inspire?
Yeah, yourself.
I would argue
Where it
the only
starts.
person you can inspire
Yeah.
is yourself. But if you're inspired by yourself, it spreads to everyone around you. That's the way you inspire other people. Be inspired by yourself, because if you are, it's going to inspire the people around you. And that's the way people show that passion, that inspiration. This charismatic stuff, a few people have that, but don't go for that if that's not you, because it's not going to work.
Dan, I don't know where the time goes, but it slipped by already. So thanks very much for joining us. You've been listening to Dan Barnett, who's a private CEO now in Lake Tahoe, and been a speaker around the circuit for a long time, and sharing his wisdom with us today. And again, thank you.